Well, how are you doing? What a jam. See this? Wait, let me pull this up. WJRD's playlist. Xerox copy of an old playlist. WJRD Tuscaloosa. And it is the week of, what was that week? March the 2nd? I believe it was March the 2nd. Hang on. Yeah, March the 25th, 1967. Woo, a top 60 playlist. WJRD was a good station back in the late 60s. WJRD here in Tuscaloosa, 11:50 a.m. They are 5,000 watts non-directional in the daytime and 1,000 watts directional at night. They didn't get far out at night. Probably could get them, maybe Moundville, which is about 15 miles south of Tuscaloosa. Probably get them as far as Moundville, and that was about it at night on WJRD. In the daytime, they got out to, well, maybe past Bessemer over near Birmingham. But the thing about WJRD, they were competing against WVOK, which beamed out of Bessemer. They were 50,000 watts, and there was WTBC. 1,000 watts in the daytime, 250 at night, but WTBC was probably one of the biggest stations, if not the biggest station in Tuscaloosa in the late 60s and certainly in the early 70s. So much so that WJRD could no longer compete with them. By 1974. They went country. But now let's go to that March 25th, 1967 playlist. I want to go ahead and get started right now. Song number 61, a top 60 extra. Oh boy, Simon and Garfunkel were on a roll. That intellectually stimulating lyrics set to a rock and roll beat. Very satisfying. And the thing about Simon and Garfunkel, well, you know, groupies are groupies, but the groupies that Simon and Garfunkel drew when they toured the college campuses, the groupies wanted to share their points with them. And they were quite different. Simon and Garfunkel, quite different creatures. Now, here's the thing. Sounds of Silence was their first big hit. Now, you're not going to believe this. This is unbelievable what happened, and I'll just mention it real quick. Sounds of Silence was an acoustic song, and it had been released on an album in 1964. Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel went their separate ways. But Tom Wilson, a staff producer at Columbia Records, he took Simon and Garfunkel's Sound of Silence, the acoustic. He added electric guitar, electric bass, and drums. He did the same thing he did with Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone. He electrified a folk song. He produced Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. And Simon and Garfunkel, the ramped up version, and he did all this. Tom Wilson did this without their knowledge. Their version went, Simon and Garfunkel revamped version, Sounds of Silence, a revamped version, went to number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100. And oh boy, it just unleashed a torrent of hits. Homeward Bound came after that in early 66. I Am a Rock in the spring of 1966. Dangling Conversation in the fall of 1966. Hazy Shade of Winter in the fall of 66. And early in 67, getting into the spring of 67, At the Zoo. Simon and Garfunkel, this is from the album called Bookends, which was a concept album. Paul Simon paying tribute to his home city of New York. Here it is. This is the brilliant At the Zoo by Simon and Garfunkel.